Go ahead, anything else for me?
You can. So,
So I want to. Is this new one? Took a phone and.
I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Are we on?
Yes.
Okay, and it is 4:04. Thanks, everybody, for coming in on such a beautiful day. This would be time. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and do roll call if that's all right, since Heather's not here. So Heather Berkowitz. Chris Chang. I think we'll give him a minute. Rita Klinghardt here. Steve Hurt.
Here.
Steve Kern is not here. Patrick.
Here.
Thomas Moore.
Here.
Roy Townsend is not here. Liz Wiseman. Here.
She's at the airport or family or something.
She coming?
No, I don't think so. She had. I last talked to her at the airport.
Okay. Don Reiser
Present.
and Murphy. Okay. Did everybody get a chance to look at the agenda?
Oops.
Yes.
It's not correct.
Oh,
One moment.
So can we have a motion that somebody for the adoption of the agenda?
I so move.
I support.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now it is time for public comment. So the public can speak for up to 3 minutes on any matter under the purview of Parks, Pathways and Preserves. So, did you want to speak?
I don't think so at this point.
Me ask if anybody,
I don't think there's anyone. Oh, Kathleen, did you want to?
does anybody on Zoom want to speak? Raise your Zoom hand. Okay, so if you want anybody.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. All right. So the approval of the minutes for September 11th meeting. Did everyone have a chance to?
Yes, thank you.
I was left off the roll call. I was present, so
Oh.
Steve were president.
Do we need to make that? We need to change that, okay? Okay, any other corrections or changes that need to be made to the minutes? I looked them over and I'm sure I
didn't
told
see
Heather they
anything.
were fine, right? Okay, so, would anyone like to move that we approve the minutes?
Yes, I move that we approve the minutes.
Support.
Right? And all in favor?
Aye.
All right. That brings us to reports and, let's see.
Excuse me, can you let Rob Pattinson in, please? Thank you.
Thanks, man.
John, would you like to start with reports? I know you. sent
I did
them
a
in
written one
because
that
I
speaks
saw
for
them.
itself. If you
Okay.
have any questions, I'll field the questions. It's already, I got it in earlier enough so that they could put it in the packet.
Very good,
It's
yep.
Online and people will look at it.
And that was for planning and the Board of Trustees.
That's right. One PC meeting, 2 BOT meetings. There's another BOT meeting tonight, special working session at 6 o'clock
Mhm.
related to trash hauling.
Mhm.
Worma is the Western Regional trash. I don't want to get it wrong, but it's Regional Resource Management Authority for kind of looking at coordinating, trash and recycling issues. And there's some municipalities like Saline and Ypsi City, Ypsi Township and Pittsfield, some pretty big municipalities whose contracts for trash hauling are expired. So Warma is in the process of negotiating kind of on their behalf. And while it won't apply to us this year directly, it's something that could impact us in the future. Because, priority could say, we don't want to provide trash for you anymore in the future because we barely go with something else. So we have a dog in that fight, as they say, or an interest in what happens with Warma. So that's tonight's 6 o'clock special working session.
John, I have a question. There's an item in here about the township-owned barn at the corner of Zeeb and Scio Church.
Right.
I looked at the GIS map and I couldn't find a parcel of land owned by it.
It's 1.66 parcel if you go into Washtenaw GIS.
Yeah,
I don't know if you use the old system or the new
new
system,
system.
but under the old system, you can certainly find it. You can get the parcel. I clicked on it last night.
Okay, and
1.6 acres.
it's north, it's in the northeast,
Nope, northwest.
northwest. I was in the wrong place. Okay.
Yeah.
This
Look
is
for
Barn of the year.
What's that? Yeah, so
It's off a ways from the intersection, I guess.
It's right there.
no, the intersection of what? Freeway intersection?
Zeeb and Scio Church.
No, it's like you could say that.
Okay.
Scio Church. It's
Wagner. Thank you, Wagner, yeah.
Oh, Wagner. I was looking, okay, the
Did I
minutes,
write Wagner? Or
it
did I
said
write-
Zeeb. The minute said
No, it's
Zeeb.
I missed. Can you
Okay.
correct that. My apologies. Thank you, Kathleen. It's Wagner. I've driven by it, biked by it a million times. My apologies.
I'll take another look.
Right
Thank you.
by Westergaard. Thank you.
Okay,
I spelled Wagner wrong. I spelled it with a Z.
yep, that's the Z spelling.
All right. Do you want to report for park?
Sure, yeah. Since we last met, quite a bit has happened. I'm not sure if you tuned in to the board meeting from the previous week, 2 weeks ago, I guess, at this point. But we were able to, let's see. So we had 3 agenda items that passed. So we will be moving forward with the improvements to the Township Hall Park loop, as well as implementing the paved sidewalk that will connect to Zebra Road pathway. So how I have a paved path that will go behind the parking lot where that ferry-ish area is, and will be paved all the way up to the limestone pathway that's going to be ADA accessible. That was the first thing that we were able to move forward with. The other is the proposal was about, how do I want to word this? The contract with A3C and Phoenix to get a quote and a bid done for the exterior bathroom on Township Hall Park, or Township Hall. So we're in the process right now of getting a bid in for that for the next board meeting.
Or to get the,
Well,
to get the permits renewed?
so
That's
the-
how it's written.
that part was passed, so we've gotten to the point where we've already given them that 9,000 for the permits and for working with A3C to actually move forward with coordinating the fixtures, et cetera. The next part is just getting that bid and presenting the bid to the board. Though they are gonna pull permits for both bathrooms and their planning is going to include both bathrooms. There's a bit of an update in terms of the geothermal that has been talked about for a while, and there was a meeting that I didn't participate in, but there was a meeting earlier this week discussing where the underground portion of that geothermal is going to be located, which is actually where our Township Hall Park sign is. So it's going to be, that parcel is going to be dug up and as long as the geothermal passes, that's where a lot of it'll be stored underground, meaning that one of our bathrooms will have to be surrendered for housing.
Or if they build an extra structure to house.
Of
whatever.
course, yeah, and that's best case
That's a
scenario.
decision that has yet to be made.
Right, yes, that's true, yes. Then the last thing is, let's see, bathrooms, Township Hall Park. What was that other one? Do you remember, Rita? Blanking right now.
For, what is it?
Brandon's
Oh,
project.
yeah.
Oh,
with
Brandon's
the
project, yes,
interplay
like
thing.
the big one, the most
Yeah.
important. So Eagle Scout Brandon's project of the natural playground was approved by the board, and so we're already moving forward with getting the excavation done by MRC and the rope structure ordered. And Mistig has done their analysis of the area to make sure that there's no utilities that are at risk, so we're rapidly moving forward. So that's how the board meeting went. Outside of the board meeting, we've had 3 Scio outside programs. 2 of them were the BAT programs and 1 was about clouds. The first one was not well attended. The second BAT program was with 18 adults and 4 kids in attendance, which it was really fun. We had a great time. I think that it really got a lot of the community out there that really didn't know that that park existed. So I was really thrilled. Cloud Chasers, which was in conjunction with the Scio Flyers, they brought out a bunch of their best, most impressive planes, but the turnout was not ideal. There's only 2 people. But you know, I'm learning as I go. So hopefully, more advertisement in the future will help with that. But we have a program tomorrow night, the Constellation program, which will be it's 7 to 8:30, but I think it'll end up being more 7 to 9 because I checked when nautical twilight was and it was supposed to be darker earlier than it's getting darker right now. So I think that we'll be doing s'mores for a little bit longer at the beginning of the program than
So
we
what
thought.
time is this supposed to start?
It's supposed to start at 7:30 or
Okay.
at 7, and it
At
still
7.
will. It's just, it's not gonna get dark as soon. But
Okay,
I've already had 6 people pre-register, and a lot of people have said they're going to attend, but to put it into perspective, we only had 2 people pre-register for the bats, and then we ended up with 22. So I'm assuming there's gonna be a pretty large turnout for tomorrow's program. In terms of Van Curler, I know that we've already discussed that the project was approved, both the burn and the contract with Michigan Wildflower. But after consulting a couple of other ecologists, I think that what's gonna be best moving forward is to backtrack a little bit and start with doing 2 years of natural areas maintenance and restoration before we do the actual seed spreading in there, because it's not a small bit of money. And we don't know how the site's gonna react, so I think that we really should just step back from that for now and wait to see how the site changes after we actually start some intensive management out there.
But the controlled burn would still,
The controlled burn is still gonna happen, yeah, and we're still gonna
Fall or spring.
spring.
but early. And one thing that we'll need to do is, and I can't remember what it's called, but make a swath.
Burn break,
A burn break.
yeah.
I can't remember that term, but a burn break all the way around. And Bria and I went out and marked where to put the burn break. And we still have John on board and he can take the billy goat out there
Yes,
and help us cut that. There are some invasive shrubs and things like that that we would probably like to take down. And I know in the past we've had Scio outside work days to kind of help with that. And there's maybe a chance that we can pull that together and get some volunteers to help kind of prep, you know, if there are weird logs or just things in the way, just to help prep that. But John can do a bulk of it with the billy goat. So somehow we're gonna
Help
figure
prep the
that out.
fire- You're talking about helping with the fire break?
yes.
Helping with the fire break. Because Dave Portman, I think, is going to do the burn,
He's doing the burn,
but
he does
doesn't
not cut his
do-
own burn
he's not
breaks.
gonna do the fire break. And there's just a couple of branches. I mean, we can always change the fire break, but there's a couple places where we might need some branches taken down on dead trees and we don't want to have anything out there that's gonna set the whole town on fire. So that's the whole point of doing the burn break. So anyway, I think John's time, he's gonna be here until November 30th. So I think we need to be mindful about our committee even. We might end up being like the Scio outside volunteer group. That's how it sometimes turns out. So anyway, we'll have to get more of that out.
And hopefully in the upcoming weeks, not even hopefully, but in the upcoming weeks, I am gonna start moving away from the programming aspect of Scio outside and then start moving into the volunteer programs again. So actually getting people out in the field to do the natural areas management. And I've scoped out a couple of spots that I'd like to start with, one of them being at Liberty Pond. And just that area when you first walk in from the, might be too much information, and I'll move on soon. But right when you walk in, there's a ton of autumn olive, a bunch of buckthorn, and it's a good spot to just, if we have a group of volunteers, get them familiar with what these invasive species look like. Anyway, that's the plan moving forward. We have 2 more programs in November. And then after that, I'm gonna be focusing on capital improvement project. Before December 17th, I'm gonna be focusing on getting that prepared, the budget, getting that prepared, and then preparing for the first 4 months of next year, making sure that all of our programs are in place before mid-December. That way we can start getting advertisements like pushed out so that people actually show up. We have a really cool one, actually. I want to tell you guys about this so you can tell everybody. We are collaborating with Leslie Science Center, and they're going to be doing a program in early February is what we've landed on right now. And it's called their cold-blooded, what is it called? Cold-blooded creatures. So they're bringing in their amphibian collection to this room, and we have 50 participants are permitted, and as maybe I haven't said this to you guys before, but one of my big goals is making sure that all of these programs are free for all Scio residents. So they've been really generous with the cost that's going to be associated with the program. That way we don't have to charge people for coming. But it'd be fun to get kids and adults in here out of the cold and
Right here.
Yeah,
So
in
Leslie
this
brings
room.
the things, the
Yes.
snakes and whatever else to here.
Yep,
They started an outreach program
it's great.
a long time ago. I was there when they did it, so it's
Okay.
been a long time now.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, I'm excited. And that's all I have.
Well, I see that Liz is not here, so we probably won't get Will, would you like to give us an update on DDA? Is that something, is there anything we want to or any kind of report on from DDA?
Oh, I don't have any new information. They haven't met again since your last meeting.
Okay, but you did send the 2 plans that from Johnson Hill.
Right.
And we have those out on the table, and I guess those are probably part of the packet that's online, or maybe not, because we just got them today.
I don't think they're in the packet.
Okay, but they can be added to the packet,
I can do that.
so people can see them? No?
I suppose that's possible.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah, that is sort of a recent arriving thing from Johnson Hill, and I guess that is related to the DDA because the DDA is paying for the concepts from Johnson Hill for the park.
Okay. So, should we just talk about them a little bit? Because everyone is at the table has them anyway. I don't know how we can put them up because, just briefly, I guess. So some of the things that I'm seeing on here differently is, let's look at number 4 first. They're on the table here, if you want to come and pick them up, for the folks that are in the room. And we'll just do this kind of briefly, but so the things that I'm seeing that are different.
They're 2
Yeah,
separate.
there are 2 different ones, and we're looking at concept 4 at the moment. One has the shelter and overlook scene, and that's close to where the playground is when you first come back by the Flyers field.
Sure.
Another thing that we're seeing is, well, the perimeter walk, going around made of asphalt, of course. The Scio Flyers area and, limestone fitness nature path. I think that's what, is that what that's supposed to be? Is it fitness? I don't know if you guys can see it, but anyway, okay,
So fine, that's,
fines, is it fines?
yeah, that's indicating that it's a very,
Oh, so that's kind of ADA.
yeah, it's not. a
Okay, so
rough
that's
road.
our, okay. So there's two pathways. There's an asphalt one and then there's one that's limestone. On this particular one.
Does this reflect Brandon Brulette's area?
No.
Well, it has a playground, the playground is still in the same area, right?
Is it in the same area?
Well, it shifts between 4 and 5.
Well, I guess, yeah, it'd just be, I kind of think that where the shelter is probably more where Brandon's. Structure.
And I always had those switched anyway,
Yeah.
so,
So,
because it's flatter up.
Was this at the request of us or at the request of the DDA? Or how did there come to be a 4 and a 5? And do 4 and 5 reflect input from the pros plan and from residents? What do residents want? And how do we know that?
Why don't I address this question?
Thank you, thanks, Will.
All right, didn't really expect to.
Oh, you're gonna get grilled, son. Have a seat.
So, the sort of missed step, I think, was having the representative from the Johnson Hill firm at the Parks, Preserves and Pathways meeting, where the concepts, the first 3 concepts were discussed. And so I tried to relay a summary of the input or the discussion, some of the input that was received during that meeting to Johnson Hill, and with the support from the DDA, asked them, the firm, to generate a couple more concepts, drawings of the park that incorporated that input. So some of the things that are incorporated, I'm trying to remember now off the top of my head, but one of them was that if the Flyers were going to continue to be using the park, they would need to have an orientation for their field that was east-west rather than north-south. And so if you look in I think both concepts, there's a kind of a dotted line showing in the playing fields where the Flyers would continue to have, we'd be able to, take off and land in the east-west directions. And the other thing was to pull all of the structures down to the south edge of the park rather than having some on the north, to not have parking in the middle of the park as some of the other concepts had. There was a desire to show at least one concept that had a dog park. So concept 5 does show that. And there was also a request from Bob Stites at the DDA to have at least one concept that showed where you might have pickleball courts. So there are pickleball courts shown in concept 5 as well. But I think, trying to think if there's any other changes that,
Well, right over where the pickleball courts are, what is that? Is that a basketball court? What is that?
I think that's parking.
No.
well, above that.
Yeah, above where the
That's-
pickleball.
That's a smaller playing field for like, pee-wee soccer or something,
I noticed that on concept number 5, the shelter for the Flyers kind of gets deleted.
I mean, these are meant to be concepts to sort of show how things might be incorporated, and my experience with these kinds of multiple concepts is that one of the benefits of having the multiples is that you can sort of mix things and sort of move things around and or visualize where, you know, things could go and, you know, from one concept to another.
So, thank you. The question I have is, who's driving the bus? Is this a PPP thing? Is it a DDA thing? Is it a BOT thing? And is input coming from what the DDA wants, the PPP wants, the Board of Trustees wants, the residents as expressed contemporaneously or recently? Or the residents as expressed through comments to the pros plan? Like, how do we know what to put there and why? And I guess any plan, given that Murphy is going to be working with OHM to do the engineering. And then hopefully the work for the ADA compliant path. I think any plans need to, and we've also funded the Boy Scouts naturescape, playscape, that's kind of along to the right in the general area where it curves. So I think those two features need to be incorporated here. I mean, in whatever plan, because we're moving ahead with those things. So, you know, we've got different plans, we've got new plans for paths, and the only path we know we're gonna have, and which is an asphalt, but it's an ADA compliant gravel path with a concrete connector. So, I guess we gotta be communicating with each other with respect to what's going in there. I don't know if that's your job, Murphy, to do that.
Would it be beneficial to be attending a DDA meeting to?
So the next DDA meeting was shifted because of a holiday in November to the Tuesday, the 12th. So it's actually the same day as a Board of Trustees regular meeting. But it's in the, you know, they meet at noon, so
Oh, okay.
there's no, you know,
And-
schedule conflict. It's just a long day for those who are attending both meetings.
Concept 5 has 3 soccer fields, 2 big ones and 1 little one. Concept 4 looks like it has 1 big one and 2 medium ones.
That's what appears to be.
If that's a thing. And then, do we need 3 soccer fields based on resident demand? Based on, we have staff to manage it? And I get that some on the DDA want an active park. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but I think that means, I don't know if that means for team sports or league sports or pickup games or whatever, but I don't see a baseball field, not that there should be. I don't see a basketball court, not that there should be, but what is soccer the sport of the future and pickleball, or what, why those features?
You're asking me?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, that's me.
okay, so,
Yes,
so
I'm asking you.
so there's sort of a lot of questions there. One thing I would say, it's clear to me that that this is probably as far as the DDA is going to go at this point. So if part of your questions are sort of like who's driving the bus, it's not the DDA. I think the DDA wanted to close out its involvement in terms of providing concepts and recognized that there was a need to incorporate the input from that discussion at the Parks, Preserves and Pathways Committee. Now, my sense of all the other things that you were asking, well, does this represent it? I don't think there's been any sort of recent effort to gather more data from the public, but the pros plan, I think, is represented in here to the degree that
Pros plan
all of
is
these
data.
things, all of these
Pros
things.
plan is data, for sure.
Right. So, my personal view about playing fields versus other kinds of you know, pickleball or basketball courts or whatever.
Or just a big old field where you do whatever you want to do
Well,
on that field.
Playing fields are basically marking lines on a big old field that can also serve as a takeoff and landing
Right.
area for the flyers. So I think the sort of, these two concepts in particular sort of lean into that kind of multi-use of the sort of flat grassy area in the middle of the park is, if you are going to, make it available to other uses, probably the thing that it allows the most sort of flexibility back and forth with the flyers use is playing fields. If you start putting in, basketball hoops, then that presents kind of an obstacle for, or could, for the flyers. It also, I think, is probably the lowest maintenance of any kind of playing active use, just putting the fields there.
And nets out of the way.
Well, yeah, you'd have, if there's nets, you pull those out of the way. That's the way that I've seen other such fields
Really?
used. My personal experience is that if, with playing fields in this area, if you build it, they will come. And, so, particularly youth soccer, they'll make use of those fields. They won't be used as soccer fields all the time, so probably an element of the management will be scheduling. And in particular, if you're trying to, toggle back and forth between used by the Flyers and used by other groups. But in terms of maintenance, I don't think it's gonna be a heavy lift compared to what we have now.
I mean, the bigger question is what's the vision for the park and whose vision is it? The EDAs, the PPPs, the publics, the BOTs. Yeah, I mean,
My view is it's this group that is the driver for the vision for Township Hall Park. The pros plan is a product of the work by this committee. I mean, obviously, it's a plan of the township as a whole. It's approved by the Board of Trustees, but it's in my experience been a product of this group, whatever its name has been in the past.
even though y'all are giving us the plans.
Well, this is just a concept. These are concepts that are meant to be an illustration of data that they received. They're not coming, it's not like it's coming from the DDA's vision. It's representative of all of the data that Johnson Hills received, and that's why I thought it was important, and the DDA agreed to have something that did incorporate that last
I'm done arguing
discussion.
Okay, my question for you is, you're saying that this is the end of what the DDA wants to do as far as concepts is what I'm thinking that you're saying. The other thing is, it was very clear that what the DDA said was, talk to us when you want to put in playing fields. And I'm thinking about the monetary part piece that might come from the DDA to help pay for some of this stuff. That was something that was kind of offered. And then it was kind of very clear that the only way that they would make any contribution to this park is when there were playing fields. So if we're doing playing fields, are they gonna be at the table? Does that mean the DDA is partnering with us to
I
do?
wish I could tell you. I mean,
That's something we need to know.
Well, I don't think anyone can tell you. I think, well, here's why. I'm, short timer, right? I'm on the DDA by virtue of being the supervisor, but that's only until November 20th. After that, it will be presumably Jillian, because she's kind of the supervisor-elect at this point, subject to the, vote in November. But so she would be speaking as in a representative to this group, but you will likely have a change in the makeup of the DDA. Almost all of the DDA members' terms expire in early 2025. I can't imagine that all of them are going to be there after that point. I just think there's likely to be turnover. So even if you were to sit down with the current members of the DDA and ask them what the commitment of the DDA will be next construction season, I don't think they could tell you.
So, but the DDA is a component of the township. It's not that those people that are part of the DDA actually carry the purse personally. That money belongs to the DDA. So even though those people are not in those seats, if the DDA still exists, that purse is gonna belong to the, whoever, there's gonna be taken care of by
But they
whoever
can't-
else is sitting at the table.
I guess what I'm saying, Rita, is like the current members of the DDA, including me, can't really make a commitment on behalf of the DDA for some future thing. So I think this conversation will need to, with the DDA, will need to recur with, at
New
some
memberships
point.
on
in the
both
future.
bodies.
Yeah,
Pardon?
New memberships on all bodies.
Yeah.
so,
Sorry.
so I can see where the parks would be hesitant, possibly, to start building fields until, since the DDA was so clear that that was so important to them. I just think that it's, in all fairness, that we stand back on making fields until we have an understanding of exactly what the deck of cards say. That's my thought as part of the parks, so.
The cost
I'll
of
stop talking.
the cost of the fields is relatively low.
Okay,
I-
I don't
I-
want to money groups out there.
I would say, in terms of development, it's kind of like making sure that the ground is level, which it pretty much is already, and
Yeah,
then it's just a matter of marking the location of the fields. I mean, I've had daughters playing soccer and field hockey on all sorts of fields all over the place in the Ann Arbor area. And, I think if the township were to proceed with creating even rudimentary fields and, sort of advertise that they were available and the procedure for signing up to use them, that would be a start. And then if the township decided it wanted to somehow make those fields improved over time based on the level of interest, then the township could do that. I think, it's the DDA, I think it was kind of exciting that the DDA took an interest in the Township Hall Park. I was a little disappointed that things didn't move forward more quickly, but I don't think that should slow down the planning for Township Hall Park, or that you should this body should necessarily wait for, things to sort of settle at the DDA. If the DDA in, next year is interested in being involved in the future development of Township Hall Park, I think that would be great, but I don't think you can count on it. But I don't think also that you should sort of like, hold back progress based on what might happen with the DDA.
okay, good. Go ahead. Did you have something?
No, I think I'm all right.
Steve, did you have something? Anybody else?
I'm kind of curious too, as John mentioned, is there a need for that many different playing fields? I mean, is that with your daughter's experience when they were playing? I mean, did you have different teams playing on concurrent fields?
Usually, in my experience, when you have some kind of a clinic or work, or a group that is playing like Pee Wee soccer or something like that, you need multiple fields. And so I think, some thought about that would be appropriate, but I don't know that it's a problem that necessarily the township needs to solve. If you make that field usable as a field, even one big field, then when somebody who needs to use it for smaller Pee Wee soccer players, for example, they'll come and they'll put down cones to, mark off smaller segments of that larger field, and they'll adapt. I don't think that necessarily the township needs to do all of that kind of thinking for every group.
The lines are less important for the young kids.
Mhm.
And the mix of size of fields, I don't have a feeling for that. It depends upon the demographics. It would be possible. I would ask, I'm new to the area, so I was involved with the Farmington Soccer Club for a couple decades. I would ask the Farmington Soccer Club if I were in Farmington, and I'd ask the fill in the blank soccer club for advice on what the demographics are.
Right, does everybody already go to Wild World of Sports, or does everybody go to Canton, or does everybody have where they already go already? And is it gonna be used for organized leagues or pickup games, or, and then are we gonna be in the sport administration business as a township? Like is Murphy, like, hi Murphy, it's Riser, I'm gonna need field number 2 Thursday from 5 to 7. Can you put me down and then put us down for field 3 the next day from 3 to 7, or right? I mean, just like, hi. Is there a demand? Is there a demand for this from residents?
My experience, and I'm guessing hasn't changed, is that anytime there's a field available, people will, you know, who
Do they
want-
play soccer back there now? Cause there's a big old field back there.
Yeah.
Well,
The
it's always open.
the township
Not
hasn't
everybody.
advertised it except as a Flyers field, and so I think in some ways.
But they're not there that much. They're not there very much. I mean,
Have there
it's-
been other
it's-
users? I don't know, you probably have a
There
better
are
idea.
people walking back there all the time, but
walking, but
they don't advertise that field as a Flyers field, guys.
Well, I don't know, I'm not, we're not advertising it, but it's labeled kind of, you know, Flyers field, so. It's, all I'm saying is if the township marketed the availability of playing fields or a playing field back there, I think you would find out soon enough what the demand was for it. I know that the township's been approached by soccer organizations about finding a place in Scio Township where they could have fields. So I think the demand is there. My experience, it's a little dated now because my daughters aren't Pee Wee soccer players anymore, but when they were a few years ago, it seemed like there was a huge demand, and I think, that's sort of true probably of every generation of Pee Wee soccer players.
Well,
Sorry.
another thing I would like to point out is that in a way, this has been active use in that the flyers are there. And in that the flyers have established sort of like a Wednesday afternoon drop-in, almost like clinic, where you can come in and learn to fly these planes. And I tried it, and I'm a little shy about trying it again. I mean, I know that he's not gonna let me hurt a plane. But, it takes a little bit of, some people probably catch on a little faster. But anyhow, I think that there is something a seed to plant, that there already is active use, and that they probably are willing to really do more clinics with more people on these RC planes. And I think that I've heard stories from some of their flyers that their children have gone on to actually go into aviation. Okay, and I think that there's some
Yeah.
I
quality
don't
that
think we're
we have.
arguing about either or here.
I know,
We're
I
talking
just
about,
wanted
we're
to say-
talking about, in these
Yeah.
concepts, talk about both. I mean,
Yeah.
they're very, I think it's very explicit, so.
But I think that scheduling, I think it's important to kind of keep that in mind, that it is kind of an active use park already. And anyway, so I'll stop talking. Okay.
I think that before we can really, definitely before we can make any sort of,
Recommendation.
even a recommendation, even a concept of discussing a pre-recommendation discussion, we need to go to the DDA and figure out, we need to be collaborating face to face.
I would agree.
And if it sounds like next year,
And I think we need to get resident input.
I would love to get resident input, and I also wondered, I have nephews that are in Pee Wee soccer, and the biggest problem right now is they have Pee Wee soccer locations, which is good, but there's no rec league, and that's in Chelsea. So, what are we ultimately building towards? A group of people that give up space for their kids to run around and do soccer, and then where do they go after that? That's just, I don't know, maybe that's too broad of a question, but if we're gonna give this resource, I don't wanna have the same thing happen here where, we convert these fields and then, at the age of 7, they're done and there's nowhere for them to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we want to have the right mix. If we have fields, we want to have the right mix.
So what I think needs to happen is we need to do some homework on what all is involved in really running all of this. And we
Yeah.
can do this through some of the local entities that already have these things in place. What's involved in it, because I'm sure there are things that we're not thinking of.
Yes.
And then what it's gonna require of the township, and and we can grow into it, but we need to figure out, what are we talking about here?
One thing I really think is important that's reflected in these plans is the dog park. So I think that's really an ideal benefit to the community, and people can just take that at their leisure, and you don't need to schedule, and there's not gonna be any maintenance involved, particularly with that. So I'm pleased to see that on the
Although we will have leaks.
Leads for the dogs.
No, but, depending on- Is this something that we can do kind of like as we go? Like, right now, we're gonna do the path and we're gonna make it ADA compatible, and we're gonna beef up that path and make it good, right? It's not level, it doesn't meet ADA with the slope, and it's gonna be a professional isn't the right word, but ADA compliant path. And then we're also gonna have this natural scape with the sandbox and the climbing logs and the net, and that we got that landscape architect helping the kids, so it's as safe as it can be. So like, can we do this, like, okay, how about the next thing we might wanna do is a shelter area and some picnic tables with electricity, something like that, off where it's not in the middle of the field, but just off to the right where it could go there. So it's like, is that a possibility to do things as we go where it makes sense to put them, that it wouldn't interfere with future plans for something bigger? That might be something to consider.
I think that's, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because I was thinking that and then I totally lost my train of thought. But if we're talking about the long-term use of the park, like, we already have a few things in place that we know for sure that we want to do, which is expand that natural playground and incorporate pavilions so that that large field, when it's not being used by the flyers, can be used as education for events, possibly for the Sustainability Fest in upcoming years. There's a lot of potential with that space. So I think that is a good way to move forward, is implement the things that we know we want,
Where we want them.
where we want them.
Question, the Board of Trustees approved $28,850 for upgrades to the pathway. Is that the existing perimeter pathway?
No, that's not the upgrades of the pathway. That's for the engineering and oversight of the construction. That's not the job. That's
Design and engineering services, okay,
right. Not construction.
okay, but is it that perimeter pathway?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And the concrete
Connector?
sidewalk connector, where is that?
That is not shown on these drawings, as
Yeah,
far as
that's
I can
not-
tell.
Where will that?
So
be?
if you look at where the dog park is,
Number 5.
yeah, number 5. So concept 5, if you look where the dog park is, already
Oh,
where
I
the,
see it.
yeah, so where the nature path and
Path.
trailhead is, if you follow the nature path trailhead out of the park towards the parking lot, and you follow the white line towards the dog park, that's part of where it's gonna be. And then just follow the perimeter part of the dog park that is adjacent to the parking lot, it'll follow down that way. And then swing around. Do you want me to show you? I'm not explaining it very
I
well.
think I see it here.
Okay,
I mean, right now, you could just walk through the parking lot because it's not very busy, but as this gets
But that's
developed.
something they want to try to get done late fall, early 25.
yeah, most likely spring. Because I think that he was under the impression that we might get more competitive bids if we're able to push it further out.
And there should be a sidewalk that goes from the toilets.
Sorry, Brandon Brulette is walking towards us.
Oh, okay. But to walk from the toilets
Let's adjourn.
and, oh, yeah, it's kind of late. From the toilets, it would go, to this side of that driveway so that people are not walking on the driveway. And we're gonna have it go through the trees a little bit. So we're not gonna put the families walking to the playground, that close. to
But
the
the
driveway.
big, I mean,
That's,
future plans, concepts with whatever input need to incorporate features that we plan on installing and upgrading on a permanent basis. That's the
Yeah.
takeaway there.
Yep, I agree.
Can we move on?
All right.
Can I just add one thing? I don't know if you guys have already talked about this, but there's this other project that sort of.
Geothermal.
Geothermal.
Yes,
Did you
we
already
did.
talk about that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure that that's part of what has to be sort of dealt with in terms of the planning for the connecting walk.
And I'm hoping that there's a possibility that then we'll just construct some kind of separate little utility building for that, but, you know, that's my,
Oh.
TBD.
Yeah.
we'll find out.
Where does the geothermal go? And
The
where's this?
geothermal,
It's underground.
yes, the underground portion goes where the Township Hall Park sign is right there. That little piece of land is where it would go underground.
And so they need to dig trenches to put this in? Is that the idea?
I'm not sure.
Probably wells.
I'm sorry?
Probably wells.
Yeah, it's a.
Oh, basically drill
Oh,
down
okay.
the bore down.
It's less horizontal than.
Yeah,
vertical.
it goes down, not sideways.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
Okay, more vertical than horizontal. Okay, I get it.
I can build a plume.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. Are we done?
Thanks, Will.
Yep, thanks, Phil. Okay. New business, the MRC. Future phases of Township Hall Park. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah,
A little bit.
a little
So
bit.
I believe what we're talking about here is right now with Brandon's project, we're looking at essentially just phase one of a three-part phase for the natural playground. And so the way that Brandon's his section is set up as, you know, like a circle with three individual play structures within that circular space. So the log walk, the rope structure, and the sandbox. And so what we'd like to do within either the next year or the next 2 years is to add two more circular spaces that are, it almost kind of looked like, the way I'm envisioning it is like almost like, you know, a Mickey Mouse situation. So if this is Brandon's, his first one, then there'd be the implementation or installation of two more, either of three more play structures or however we wanna,
Something
just something, yeah,
like
so
playground, like age, what to what?
age
Yeah, it's-
Like 3 to 15, 3 to
3
10?
to adult,
Okay.
really. And a lot of these structures, that's what's so cool about the natural play spaces is they invite people of differing abilities and ages to want to use them. So I don't know if you've been to the Barton one yet, but I mean, we went out there and you can't just help but like climb on everything. And even Roy was walking on the wall, the log structures. It's,
So there's
So-
one at Barton Pond now.
There is one,
Barton
yeah.
Dam.
yeah,
And playing tag on that is
Yeah.
interesting. I've done it.
I went to Leslie Park recently and I was out there playing with my 4-year-old.
it's great. It's fun. It's interactive. So that's the plan for,
4-year-old grandson.
But that's generally on the approach to the park before it opens up into the big field.
yes. So this is all within the space that's still currently like scrubby
Yep,
prairie.
yep, got it.
So that would have to be reflected in this eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
I like the idea of thinking about this in phases. Brandon's Eagle Scout project is a seed and we see how that goes and then can add on to it.
Yes, and with Dan Peralt's input, I think, you know, he's been doing it for a while, so he's gonna have some really interesting ideas. And I did talk to Roy about the structure that's at Barton Dam because it is so cool. It's like tons of different logs and there's areas where you step on like a net and you can just climb all over it and it's really sturdy into the ground. And I was like, that'd be really cool to have. Did he tell you how much that structure
Mhm.
cost? Do you remember?
It felt like it was around 45 grand.
Like crazy expensive. So I mean, I would love to do something like that, but we're, yeah, still,
And that was
Small
using
scale.
an existing tree that they had to take down.
yeah,
So
Who paid for that? Who owns that?
I'm not sure.
probably City of Ann Arbor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
So there's a lot of potential for what could go into those spaces, and also depends on how people use the spaces that Brandon installs, so.
Thank you.
Oh.
Oh, but also some of the other phases, so those are the two phases for the playground structure, but also at some point, we do want to start looking at installation of pavilions and what kind of pavilions we want and where, and then figuring out. Definitely always starting small, scaling back as much as possible, so one pavilion at a time, see how people use it. And then wait to see what kind of feedback we get about, as that park inevitably gets more and more foot traffic. People will hopefully be giving us more feedback on the kind of things that they want to see out there.
When those bathrooms are available too, that'll be much more attractive area.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, that was it.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about, Murphy did a report on the parks, and I know that Brendan just came in, but, I don't know if we need to do any more with that right now. Just talk to Brendan. If the meeting is over. Right?
Sure.
Okay. I think we're gonna move on to public comment. And this will, of course, be 3 minutes for any one from the public to speak under the purview regarding anything under the purview of the IPP.
Before we do public comment, which is usually the last thing before we adjourn, Brandon's here. I don't know if he wants to just give a brief report or let us know when he wants to start, or I don't know if he just came because he likes these meetings now. He's been to so many.
You know, it
Or,
might be.
or if he had information to report to us, because if he feels that he does, I don't mind if he takes a couple minutes and
Okay.
shares that,
Do
if
you
he
need,
does.
would you like to update us on any progress you've made?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, John.
I don't have any papers or presentations for you. Recently Murphy, got the MRC stuff done, so she ordered all the excavation and implementation for MRC. The net structure has been ordered. I was just outside measuring the logs for the log stepping area, and so I should have that ready sometime in the next week. And then I can meet with Murphy and everyone to get started on like when we're actually gonna get working on it, so.
Do you have an idea of when your work might be, or days?
For the MRC stuff,
Or when, aren't you gonna need volunteers on a certain day?
yes.
You know, when some of your tentative dates are?
Probably looking at either for the stuff that my troop would do for like the log stepping area and putting like the sand and everything in. It'd probably be on weekends, like Saturday or Sunday, and I'd give them like a week or 2 weeks notice.
Okay, is that gonna be October, November, December, January? Do you have any sense of that? Is it gonna be this year or next year?
November would be best. October would be even better, depending on when MRC can get done with their excavation and everything.
Please let Murphy know and give us as much time as you can so that we can advertise if you're looking for members of the public or this committee to help.
And that's a question I have, is I know this is your project and you're the leadership of this. I'm wondering, are you gonna, do you have a way to put this out yourself where you can try to attract volunteers?
Yeah, my troop is made of like 50 people on average workday. I think the last Eagle workday we had was like 4 months ago and 30 people showed up to it, so. And I can use sign up Genus and I can limit it to 5 people. I only need 5 people to come. I can have 7 people sign up, so there's extra people there in some case something happens. Or in case they don't come.
I was curious, after moving those logs, and I meant to get in touch with you sooner, but would you be interested in sharing what it is that the lengths that you need them cut? And that way we could just take care of it here, so you don't have to coordinate to have someone cut them to the lengths that you want?
Yeah, I planned on having, I think, 11 logs in the area, or 11 stumps of logs. One would be cut to 3 feet, 2 would be cut to 2.5 feet, 2 would be cut to 2 feet, and the other 6 would be cut to 1.5 feet. And all of those logs, 1 foot of the log is already in the ground. And so there's only
And it's per your specs or per Dan's?
per dams specs.
Yeah, if you can put that in an email and send it to me, then we can get started on cutting those.
Now, did I understand that you were gonna take the bark off the trees?
Yes, we can take the bark off.
It'll kind of happen as we cut them anyway,
Yeah.
but we just got our farm boy chainsaw fixed, so we're ready to
Okay,
cut some stuff.
I think
okay.
it's called farm boss.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I'm
still.
only a farm boy.
It is.
Lawn boy.
If it's a still.
Yes, it is. You got it. Let me correct myself, farm boss.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'll email you, probably the next day or two about meeting up, so.
Thanks for the
Thanks,
update.
Brandon. All right, very good. Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Congrats and thanks for all your patience on this project.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, now I think we can move to public comment. Great. Is there anyone here? that-
Yes, now I.
There you go. Thank
Now I wanted the meeting to go forward first. So again, my name is James Hartwell, for those that don't know me. I am the president of the Scio Flyers. And I'm here representing the Scio Flyers, and our interest is in Township Hall Park and the enhancements that the committee is talking about. So there were a lot of information put out, and I tried to prioritize them as I was taking notes. Multi-use, the Flyers are here, and I would like to request that we become a participating member in the process for the enhancements for Township Hall Park. We're a significant user of the park. We want to continue to be a significant user, and we would love to participate, be an active participant instead of just, public comment at these meetings. We would like to participate in the process if that's possible or doable. I don't know what the protocol is on that, but we're here to help. And keep in mind that we have significant membership that live in Scio Township. A significant number of our memberships are Scio Township citizens. I'm a Scio Township citizen, so please keep that in mind as you think about that. Clinics, I heard Murphy talk about clinics. We actually are planning a clinic in here ourselves, a model building clinic that we're gonna use the Township Hall for. So we're gonna be doing clinics. The first one is to build little V-wing pilots, and we're gonna set up little stations. We're gonna have students come in and build airplanes. So we haven't really set a date for that, but we're really looking forward to doing that. We have the sponsorship of Windcatcher RC, who's going to help us get the models. And these are actual models that will end up actually flying out at the field. So it should be pretty cool to go from build to flight. And so that's one thing we do. We're putting together our 2025 schedule that we'd like to collaborate with the township on to make sure that our schedule is in sync with yours. As we build that out. Community engagement, we've had a fantastic second half of the summer. I will openly admit to the committee that the first half was a little slow, but man, we have had a fantastic second half to the summer. We had a picnic out there. You guys should go out and look at the pictures on Facebook. We had a picnic out there with 70 people, and we had a dozen kids out there flying. I couldn't sit down. The kids were chasing me around, tugging me on my shirt. They wouldn't let me sit down. They wanted to fly so much. It was a fantastic event. We had our night fly event out there where we sat down and watched it. We set up a couple of TVs out there. We watched the Michigan football game. We had chili, we had apple donuts, and then when the sun went down, we turned on the lights on the airplane and we flew at night. It was a fabulous event, and I really, the reason I mention that is I just want this committee to know that we are contributing to the community in our own unique way, and we want to continue to do that. So sometimes when I sit in these meetings, sometimes I get looks like, oh, who's the flyer? We don't really know. We know of them, but we don't really know who they are. I would like to make a proposal that we come in and do a presentation to you guys to tell you exactly who we are. We are a professional organization. We're an official nonprofit organization. We are a chartered member of the Academy of Model Aeronautics. So we do it right. When it comes to model aircraft and running a club, we do it right. And we want to continue to collaborate with the township in all aspects that that you guys are talking about. And we want to offer the club up as our unique resource and as our unique thing that we offer to the community. Because not many communities can say they have a professionally run model airplane club, and Scio Township has one. And I'm asking, we're here for you guys to leverage. And that's what I wanted to say. Let's see, did I say, oh, presentation. I already talked about presentation. We'd love to come in and present to you guys if that's what you guys think you need. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks.
We can.
Any other in the house?
Oh,
Anyone
anyone
else?
else? Oh, Rob has his name. Okay. Rob, can you speak?
Yep, I can.
Hey,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you,
Hi,
Murphy.
Rob.
Appreciate that. Rob Pattinson, Scio Township President. I am so grateful the Scio Flyers came today. I will repeat again to this committee. It was 1976 was the first time I used the Scio flying field, and it was already a well-established field at that point. So they have been around for a very, very long time. And Brandon, from one Eagle Scout to another, you should be extremely proud of yourself. I said this at a board meeting, but you had already left. You should be extremely proud of yourself. Your project involves much more engineering and project management than mine did 40 some years ago. And you are doing a spectacular job. So very, very well done. You should be very proud of yourself. Thank you.
Rob. That's everybody that has their hand raised. Okay. Oh, wait, John. Jonathan, can you hear me? Wait,
I
oh.
can.
Oh, okay, great. Hey.
Hey, I'm really glad I came to the meeting today because I had known about the Flyers, but I hadn't, the description I just heard, really, I knew it was a local treasure, but I didn't realize what a unique resource, the level of expertise in the group. And it just surprises me that they're here in public comments begging for participation and helping shape the future of this property. I would think they'd be far more, would be much more involved in this. And I'm trying to figure out why I have no idea, but why the supervisor wants to move quickly with this, with his way out of, I'm sorry, I just have my experience and what I've seen over the years, but it seems like if the supervisor's really in a hurry to get something done, it's because there's something else going on. And for that reason alone, I think taking some caution here and waiting for the new board to get in would be a really good idea. Thanks very much for listening to me.
Thank you.
I'll just comment on that comment that I don't have the impression that our supervisor is pushing for it, pushing anything, but we're working, and I echo the comments of the public that the Scio Flyers are a resource, and we should collaborate with them.
Anyone else?
That's it.
Okay, then I'm going to move that for adjournment.
I will support that.
Okay. Very good. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and it is 5:13. Very good. All right.
Take care, folks.
Well, I hope everybody goes and enjoys the Tigers game.
Tiger, we're training out if you guys want to come on.
Yeah.
What time do you guys start?
As soon as I can get set up, I try to get out there at 5, but
Yeah, okay, go.
He'll know.
if you want to come out, as soon as,
Out that door right there.
yeah, as soon as we get set up, come on
All
out.
right, okay, I got it. We have a 6 o'clock here, but I'll come out. I'll come
We
out.
had Rita and we had Murphy out last week, so.
Why you gave them the bad phone.
Give it a try, man. We'll hook you, man. Come on in, man.
really wide wing, really wide wing.
We'll get you. We got trainers, we got technology. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.